to talk about something that probably hasn't been a topic since, man, 2019, maybe into 2020. And that is, there are some artifacts in this game that you probably have not even taken a second look at that might be the answer to a lot of your woes, especially when pushing something like Void Campaign. It really depends on how the battles are going, what artifacts you're technically already using on your heroes. And these artifacts, again, a blast from the past, might be very useful. And a big shout out to JC, our guildmate, for pointing this out, because I guess he made a huge push in the Void Campaign. I'll show you where he is on the leaderboard, and he attributes it to old school artifacts, which is something amazing that even a pay to win super mega whale uses these free to play old school artifacts to make progression. Hopefully you guys enjoy this one. Let's get going. So first off, let's talk about the legitimacy of these claims, because, well, we're talking about JC. If you guys don't know who JC is, you can quickly see on the leaderboard who he is. He's already on to 6-5-1. He hasn't really pushed much until the last day or so because he's had a lot of personal stuff going on. Only 3 people have actually completely finished. I haven't even tried yet because I know how ridiculously difficult it is. I mean, especially when immediately like you're up against Valk waves, it's a nightmare. However, this strategy, it might actually help you out. So what exactly are we talking about? Well, if you come to your artifacts and take a look at the artifact Pokedex, essentially, you'll see we have all of these nice pink artifacts. You got like the red ones, the green ones, all these random ones. We're talking about old school artifacts, and more specifically, we are talking about orange exclusive ones. Mainly because they have the stat we are hunting on. You'll notice there's a ton of these icons you've probably never even cared about. There are a few of them that are very important. Now, some of them are just, plain old stock ones, which are actually fine as well. Because one thing you'll notice is there are some of them in this Pokedex. I know one of them, hold on, is this Scythe right here, Reaper's Scythe. 90% damage against warriors, plus 50% skill damage. They have a bonus skill like notification activation here based on the faction. However, there are none of them that are for Transcendence. These are like the old school versions of like the current Splendid flags and everything, where if you have a stat activation limit on the class, or not even the class or the faction, you get a bonus stat. Well, some of these old ones had things very similar to this, and you'll notice here they're actually giving a lot of stats overall. So here's the thing I want to talk about. You see a lot of these giving like a percentage attack, which normally is pretty good. However, nowadays we have so many attack percentage multipliers that sometimes raw stats can actually win out, and giving yourself an additional 2700 attack is actually pretty significant. Not only that, a lot of these old school ones, and you can see right here, like the first line, I think is it, right? We have the one for warrior, we have the one for assassin, we have the one for ranger, we have the one for mage, and we have the one for priest. These give a huge bonus based on who you are fighting. And one thing that JC specifically said was that these guys are making huge comebacks and giving so much power. Essentially, such as waves that have Valkyrie, you do 90% additional damage to them. The wave after that he had was mages, and he was able to do the same thing. Now, there is a little caveat to this, because normally, if you're trying to kill a lot of these Void Campaign waves, you're probably using something like Melodic Strings on your main damage dealer, or just survivability to try to make it longer rounds. However, with the introduction, I feel like, of Betty now gives you the capabilities to make combat so much longer. Like, the combats go on so much longer because of the fact that if she gets hit before, or when the first enemy attacks, she has a pretty high chance, when you also combine this with her Noble Core of Origin, to just CC the entire wave. Now, most of the time that's good. You can tell times like this one that I'm on right here is bad. Why is it bad? Because when you are facing off against a Valkyrie, you don't want to CC her. When controlled, restores HP, and then burns 3 random enemies. It's only 3% of her HP, but guess what? They have a lot of HP in Void Campaign and these PvE modes, which is why Betty does not do against do very well against those waves. However, if you're able to survive longer on a lot of these battles here, these artifacts become extremely strong. Pure 90% damage bonus is huge, and on top of that, like I said, it's one of the few artifacts you can actually equip to your character that's giving raw stats. And as you guys know, with fixed stats and things like that, it's very good, but these are even better than fixed stats because these can be then multiplied by all your other multipliers, especially when you take into consideration things like this. When we come into our treasure train, we literally have an additional 16% attack already right here. Our Transcendence Hero is getting an additional 4.5%, another 3% here. You see certain classes getting it. In Void Campaign, you have an additional 23.5%. You're getting all these different multipliers added together. And so all those get added up, even on your character. I mean, heck, you look at your character, you have percentage attack here, you have percentage attack on these nodes, you have so many different spots where you're getting percentage attack that it really dilutes the water when we're talking about the actual stats. And you notice things like this, the crit attack, there's no base stats. Now there are some when we're talking about other stones, like, where is it? We actually have an example of one of them. Like HP, it gives the flat stat plus the percentage. We have attack, which again gives a huge amount of stats right there. So it's something to keep in mind. Even your gear here has a huge chunk of stats that you get, which is why upgrading to Resonance is a huge boost in power as well. So the big question for you guys is, have you actually tried these artifacts out? Like I said, you can either use the bone stock standard ones. There are a ton of them down here. So they're very easy to get. Chances are you might actually have some in your bag right now. I can open 5 of these right now. I have an anti-ranger one, 2 of them right out the gate. I can even open this, and this one is an anti-warrior one, which is really solid. You of course want to upgrade them so they go all the way up to the 90% and you're getting additional stats, but they are very easy to come by. I think technically even there's red ones that do the same thing, right? Yeah, there's even red ones, but they're just like half the power essentially. You're going to want to go for these guys up here, whether they're class specific ones like this, or faction specific ones, anything like that. Just getting them and trying them out would be pretty interesting, because a lot of you guys might not be old enough players to remember Nail of Destiny and what's the other one? I think it was actually that bow we were just on right there, Murmur. These were the best artifacts to use on a penny to beat Sealand 20 back in the day because of the huge bonuses. Now, it did mean it was harder to crit, and that's going to be the same situation right here, but it does open up a ton of possibilities because it is just so much raw damage. It's just absolutely crazy. So let me know what you guys think. Hopefully you guys try these out and have success. Maybe we will as well, and I'll see you guys next time.